Hello and welcome to The Telescope. Every week we'll bring you a fresh insight from the biggest car market in the world. Today we get to drive the Xiaomi YU7. This is the SUV version of the SU7 saloon we showed you roughly March last year. Now, considering that car has consistently beaten the Tesla Model 3 to become the best-selling electric saloons in China at least, is this Xiaomi's Model Y moment? I think you will agree that this car is so much more than just a Model Y. We've already done a static review of this car, so my detailed opinions on the exterior and interior design, you can check out that video. To summarize, many people think this car is a Ferrari Purosangue lookalike with McLaren headlights. Make up your own mind on whether this is a copycat or not. The Model Y's design is clean, but it's not as charismatic as this one. Xiaomi can do this because this car is over 220 millimeters longer on the outside, but it's only a fraction bigger on the inside. It is bigger than the Model Y, you can see here, and also according to this material, it's got 10 millimeters more longitudinal knee room than the Model Y. But as I said, this car is over 220 millimeters longer on the outside, so Xiaomi has effectively given designers a lot of freedom to waste space so that they can give you such an exciting design. Here at the front, the major highlight is the Xiaomi Hypervision. I would describe this as a full cabin with heads-up display. Now, one thing I can already tell that's different from the static review is that that static review was shot in an indoor studio with very dark ambient lighting. Now here on a sunny day, outdoor realistic lighting conditions, I can tell this full cabin with heads-up display is not one continuous display. I can tell the difference or the separation line that this is 3 displays joined together. Because they've designed all of the elements, the UI design, the outer rim is always dark, so you don't really see the so-called screen bezels, but you can just tell on the natural daylight, this is not one continuous curved display like I would assume in a static review, but this is 3 separate flat displays joined together with carefully designed UI to hide all of the screen bezels. But this still, having said that, takes nothing away from the visual effect of this. This is, I will describe how it feels on the move later, but this is definitely the next generation cabin display. And more mounting points. Now, for people outside China, Xiaomi doesn't just make phones, tablets, or smartwatches. It makes a whole universe of just about everything. For example, my phone currently is mounted on this phone mount, which is first-party manufactured from Xiaomi. It's rock solid, perfect as a teleprompter, also including this self-leveling camera. Now, this car being almost self-driving ready has a suite of cameras looking around 360 degrees of the car on the outside, so all of the sceneries you see on the road, those cameras facing outside will take care of you. But this camera takes conversations to the next level. So now you can see my cameraman who is shooting this video. Also, you can record all of your in-car conversations with your families, and this camera is from Xiaomi, also mounted on this first-party mounting points with power supply. Other smart touches, how about this tissue paper box that is manufactured by Xiaomi and magnetically mounted behind the infotainment screen. So no matter how hard you are cornering, this tissue paper box will not roll around and you will always get your tissue paper behind the infotainment screen. How smart is that? Also, some people are worried that this heads-up display doesn't work well with sunglasses. So Xiaomi has 2 magnetic mounting points here, so you can mount your sunglasses provided from Xiaomi that works with this heads-up display. Yeah, I can still see the heads-up display perfectly fine. And this sunglass is also manufactured by Xiaomi. How about this? If you're an Apple user like me, then this car has excellent compatibility with Apple. Obviously, CarPlay, and also this car has built-in Apple Music app, so you can just use Apple Music without engaging CarPlay. Obviously, this has an Apple Watch control, this has Apple Car Key, works with UWB, and this car's iPhone app works with dynamic islands. You can assign action button to unlock this car. So yeah, don't worry that this car only works with Xiaomi phones. Your Apple ecosystem works just fine. Now, if you're in the Xiaomi ecosystem, for example, what if I don't like to wear sunglasses? You can swap this for a magnetically attached button here. You can assign any functions to this button, and also you can actually, I think you can attach 2 of these buttons here on the roof. Now, this car doesn't have a physical control for the auto dimming glass roof, and also doesn't have a physical control for the glove box. While that's annoying, you can just assign this to open the glove box, for example, or auto dimming the glass roof. But as someone who owns 4 Apple TVs, air purifier, humidifier, floor sweeper, about 10 Xiaomi smart plugs that connected all of the lights in my home to the Xiaomi ecosystem, I understand what kind of potential that this simple magnetically attached button unlocks. If you don't understand this, then I totally get it, because Xiaomi may not sell that much of everything in your country, but I understand that with this button, it literally unlocks everything. From the first turn of the steering wheel, you can instantly tell that this car's body is much slower to react to your steering. So on the SU7 Saloon, the body follows your steering very quickly. It gives you a very positive first impression, you know, that car's handling is surprisingly serious. This, being an SUV, is much slower to follow your steering. But it's not lazy, it's just that I have the expectation that this car can be a very sharp handling SUV, and it doesn't have that. The off-center response is also, it's not slow, but it's much lazier than the SU7 Saloon. If you're looking for that kind of immediacy, that kind of sharpness, I think you will have that back in the YU7 Ultra. I mean, this is not a bombshell world premiere of that model to prove that that model exists. I haven't checked with anyone at Xiaomi, but I think it's kind of expected that Xiaomi will produce an ultra version of this YU7 with the SU7 powertrain and maybe perhaps a slightly bigger battery. On that YU7 Ultra, you will have probably the sharpest handling SUV on planet Earth, and probably they will go for another Nordschleife run to beat every other petrol electric SUVs on the Nordschleife. Now we're on the move with the Xiaomi Hypervision, or the full cabin with heads-up display. Having used this for several hours today, I think this is the solution. First of all, it's below your line of sight. You know, when we're driving in this kind of twisty mountain roads, when you are trying to position your car in a narrow lane and you're just trying to see where the edge of the road is, where the edge of your current lane is, and with traditional heads-up display, it's right at your line of sight, which could be quite distracting. And another advantage this have over, let's say, traditional displays, you know, a flat display, is that this gives you depth. So your pupils doesn't need to adjust that much to constantly switching back and forth between the road surface, between other objects on the road, and this heads-up display. It's got a depth that a flat display cannot give you. And this has much better resistance to outdoor lighting. The Xpeng G7 we showed you last week, it claims to have 12,000 nits of peak brightness. This only has 1200 nits of constant brightness, but this deals with daylight, direct sunlight, whatever car you're following, doesn't really matter, because this is projecting all of the info on a black background. This is perfectly visible, perfectly readable under any kind of ambient lighting conditions. This is a quiet car where we are, let's say, 15% over the highway speed limit, and you barely notice the wind noise, which is consistent with the SU7. The SU7 has excellent wind noise control, but the tire noise, because today we are on the optional 275 section rear tires and also on the optional 21-inch wheel, tire noise is noticeable, and with big wheels, it's quite selective on tarmacs. If you're on the wrong kind of tarmac, you can pick up quite a lot of wheel noise and tire noise, and also noise from the wheel rim itself. On range, the single motor rear wheel drive version with the smallest 19-inch wheel is rated at something above 800 kilometers an hour, which is an absurd number. I'll put that on screen. But with the max version and with the 21-inch 5-spoke wheel, you know, very good-looking wheel, but not aerodynamically as efficient. And today we are on a low rolling resistance tire. This is currently 770 or 750 kilometers CLTC certified range. With the higher grip version of the tires, you will take another maybe 40, 50 kilometers away from it, which means this car's range performance is okay, if not, it is as good as an electric SUV can be. And also this car is quite low for an electric SUV. It's only 1600 millimeters, which is not that tall for an electric SUV. Now, price. We're filming this on June the 13th, about 2 weeks before the actual launch. I know we're testing the max version with the dual motor and a big battery and air springs and all the options that you can think of, but I think there is still a chance for this car to be on Model Y's price point, because there is a coil spring version of this car with a single motor rear wheel drive, slightly smaller 96.5 kilowatt hour LFP battery, which means it is almost identical in spec to the SU7 Pro, the saloon version. The saloon version is currently priced at 245,000 RMB. Now, could that version of the YU7 hit 265,000 RMB? I think it has to. I think Xiaomi almost start with that price point and work backwards to decide how much equipment we can accommodate on this car. Because I know this car doesn't look like a Model Y rival, but it is. This is not the first car that's trying to dethrone Model Y's domination in China. First up is the X1 G6, which is still an excellent car. I still recommend that, especially after the facelift. Then it's the Envoy L60, which in my testing beats Model Y on sheer energy efficiency. Then it's the Zeekr 7X, which is a slightly different kind of beast. It's more upright, more luxury, with some off-road capabilities. Is this YU7 the final punch to knock down Model Y in China? I think it is. And I also think this will start a positive feedback loop, making people realize that all of the other cars I just mentioned, in just about every way, is that much better than the Model Y. The snowball is only just starting to roll. That is all from the Telescope today. If you enjoyed this video, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.